All right, today is Photoshop number 9, which has to do with layer styles. But if you're not at school, if you have to be away, you won't use Photoshop. You'll use this website, photopea.com. Here's the address right up here in the address bar, photopea, photopea.com. I'm going to use this to demonstrate, and you can do very similar things to what we're going to do at school with Photoshop right here with Photopea. All right, I'm going to go back to Google Classroom for a second. Here is Photoshop number 9. There's a help page here, but here's the kind of the star of the show. It's this Photoshop document that has a bunch of MLS soccer logos on it. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to go up here to the top right. I'm going to open it in a new window, and then I'm going to download it. There's a button up here for download. If you are working on your Chromebook, what will happen when you click download is that it will be downloaded onto your Google Drive. So that's where you're going to find it. Mine gets downloaded into my downloads folder. All right, now back to Photopea. So what you would do next here, once you're on Photopea and you've downloaded that file, you would do open from computer. If you're on your Chromebook, you would you would just look on your Google Drive and you should find this MLS soccer file. Should be there somewhere. Mine is in my downloads folder, and so I'll just open that up, and there it is. Quickly look over here at the layers panel. There's a blue background, and then each one of these layers is named according to the soccer club that it has, or the football club, I guess you could say. There's New York City, Seattle, Orlando, Portland. They match up, right? Okay. So here is the theme of the day. This is what I want you to work through. You're going to have to add a layer style or an effect to every one of those layers. You got a lot of options. Okay, so I'm going to start with New York City Football Club, which, by the way, is this one on the top left, has the kind of stylized NYC in there. And then on Photopea, you go down here to where it says EFF at the bottom of the layer panel right there, pointing to it right now. The pop-up comes up, says layer style. And then you can, this is up to you. I'll just start with something really simple, a drop shadow. So I'll click on that for a drop shadow. Let me move that out of the way. And there are a whole bunch of controls here for this drop shadow, things like the opacity and the blend mode and the distance and the spread and the size and the contour and the noise, and you can adjust any of those things that you want. The angle, you can change the angle. You can pull this thing around kind of like a clock and it changes the angle. You can change the distance of the drop shadow. You can change what's called the spread of the drop shadow or the size of the drop shadow. Even the contour of the drop shadow, you can play with that. I'm not going to play with that. You can add noise to it, and you know, if you're thinking I don't know what noise is, then try it, experiment with it. So there's all of these controls that you have with the drop shadow, and you're looking right next door, and it's showing me what it's doing. There's a shadow behind the New York City Football Club logo. This is a day when we say, when you're happy and you know it, click OK, right? You're seeing what's happening. So if you think, okay, yes, this is good, I like this, then you just come over here and click OK, and you've done it. You put an effect on that on that logo. All right, so let's move on. Let's come over here to the layer panel. Now, one of the things you have to get used to is if you're going to put an effect on a logo or put an effect on a layer, you have to click on the layer. You have to select it. So I'll go down here to EFF, and let's say I want to put a stroke around this one. All right, well, a stroke is like an outline. I'll exaggerate it to begin with. See that red stroke? Looks really bad. All right, so I can size that down some. There's opacity, there's position, inside, outside, center. So that makes a difference. Blend mode can make a difference. Color, gradient, stroke, pattern, stroke, color, stroke, colors. And can you, let me see if can you, yes, you can. If you click the color picker, you'll notice that I can move off of the, if you click the color box and then you get the color picker, I can move off of the color picker and I can click on a color. So what I did there was I clicked on this blue color that's in the logo, or I'll click on the green color to show you here. If you select a color, it'll make the stroke match, right? So I've made a blue stroke that matches that blue, or I made a green stroke that matches that green. So that's a matter of you do whatever you want. Maybe I'll lighten that up just for some contrast there. All right, and then I'll click OK if you have a color that you like. So that's an example of adding a stroke. I'll go ahead and click OK here. Let's go ahead and look at Orlando. All right, so I'll click on my next layer. I'll go to FX and let's do a bevel emboss. And sometimes you may have to move the layer style thing out of the way. And you can play with inner bevel, outer bevel, the depth of the bevel, the size of the bevel. See, I'm starting to see some things happening there. The contour of the bevel, you could bend that and it's going to make some difference in how it looks. And you can and click OK. Angle, all of this. Angle, mode, screen. Bevel Emboss makes it look like it kind of popping up off the page. It's a three-dimensional kind of effect. All right, so there's a possibility right there. I'm just about to wrap this demo up. I'm not going to do all of these, but you're going to have to do something on all of them. Here's the next thing I want to show you. I'm going to click on Portland. And you can, well, I'm going to show you a couple more things. You can, if you want to, if you have an effect that you really like a lot, maybe you come back here and say, I really like that drop shadow. Okay. You can use it more than once. Now, I would encourage you not to just do the same thing on all of them because that's no fun. I mean, this is about learning. This is about learning what they do. So let's not just use the same thing on all of them. But I'm not going to tell you can't use something twice. Like maybe you just really want another drop shadow on there. Okay. So I've got a drop shadow on the New York City and the Portland. Okay, that's all right. Let's go on to Toronto and look at something here. I'm going to go to that effects button and outer glows are fun. Let's do that. Let's look at an outer glow. And the big thing you got to do with outer glow kind of to begin with is play with spread and size. All right, start with that, spread and size. And you can see as I adjust, especially the size of the thing, the spread makes a difference too. But as I adjust the spread and the size, you can really see it happening over there on the Toronto logo. And then you can kind of go to work on all kinds of other things here. Like you could change the blend mode, you could change the opacity, you could add some noise to it. Noise makes it look kind of grainy. I don't know what you want to call that. You could change the color of it. I'll make it a more vivid yellow there. Oops, gotta click OK there. Ooh, I made it black. That's all right. So an outer glows can be fun. Right, that's kind of a black outer glow. I just decided I don't really like the black, but I sure would like that red, I think. All right, so I'll click OK. And I'll click OK again. There, red outer glow. Now, one last thing that I do want to show you here. Well, not the very last thing, but another idea I want to show you. I'll go to the DC United logo and go to Effects, and I'll start with a stroke. Boom. Move this over a little bit so you can see. I don't want it to be green. I don't think that looks good in that case, so I'll go with like black for that. So I put a black stroke around it. See, it didn't have that black stroke. But the thing that I want you to catch here is that you're not limited to putting one effect on a layer. You could combine them. For example, I've got a stroke on there, and if I come down here to where it says drop shadow, I could check mark that. So now I've got a stroke and a drop shadow. Oh, I just thought of something else I got to show you. Sorry. And I could also add a bevel emboss if I wanted to. So really now I've got three effects happening on the same layer. Bevel emboss, stroke, and drop shadow all happening on that DC United logo right there. And so I want you to catch the idea that you're not limited. You don't have to stop at one. You can put multiple effects on one layer. All right, I'm going to click OK there. And I do have one more thing. I'm going to click the Chicago layer, and I'll go to Effect. And you'll notice that some of these say Overlay, like Pattern Overlay, Color Overlay, Gradient Overlay. Okay, well, I'm going to do a Gradient Overlay, and let me move this out of the way. And if you look at this Chicago, I'll move this down a little bit. Look at this Chicago logo here. It kind of looks like it's really messing it up because you can't tell it's a Chicago logo anymore. It's put this gradient over the top of it. Until you do things like this. You could change the gradient, by the way. Right? See, there's other gradients here. What if I did that? Right? Play with opacity. If I lower the opacity, oh, now I can tell that's a Chicago Fire logo, but it's kind of been stylized. It's got that rainbow that you can see. Or you might play with the blend mode. Right now the blend mode is set on normal. And what if I go to like color dodge? I don't know. And see, that's the thing about this is, do you like it? I don't know if you like it or not. That's exclusion. The blend mode is exclusion. And you see what it did to the Chicago Fire logo there. And if you don't like it, what you do for a blend mode, you just go back and put it on normal, right? It's not like you broke it, right? So there's a lot of different blend modes in there that you could play around with, and you could play around with a combination of blend mode and opacity. So it's like it's endless, right? It just you could just keep tweaking and playing and dabbling like forever. Maybe I'll change the angle of it. Maybe I'll make it radial. Um, Gosh, you could just go on and on and on with what can I try? And when you're happy and you know it, you click OK. All right. So really, to finish this up, I would have 3 more to go, but I'm not going to take any more time right now. So what you would have to do then, what you would have to do next is it does have to be saved. So you go here to the File menu on Photopea and just do a Save as PSD. Right there. All right, Save as PSD. Boom. And again, if you're on your Chromebook, when you do that Save as PSD, it's just going to save it on your Google Drive. And so when you go to turn it in on Google Classroom, if you go back over here, let me get back to the assignment. If you go back and view assignment and you go to turn it in, and you're thinking, where is it? I saved it. Where is it? It's going to be on your Google Drive. It should be there. And it should have a name kind of like something like MLS Soccer. Could say MLS Soccer 1 or something like that. That's a possibility. But yeah, so that is it. It's Photopea, and we're doing layer styles, and give it a shot. See ya.